Hey y'all, what's going on? It's Luke Varley-Twyman, and this is What is Macro Social Work? So to define macro practice, what's up?
What is it, man? What the fuck, man? That presentation looks like shit.
Yeah, well, I know, but what am I supposed to do? I mean,
Professor Tolliver is going to think that we do not respect him. Okay, we gotta get this shit together.
you're right. Let's do it.
What's going on, y'all? It is Luke here. This video was supposed to look a lot better, but I didn't count on my 13-year-old computer crapping out at me at the last moment. So we're gonna see how this goes. If you're watching this, then it worked. It is 7 p.m. on Wednesday. Tomorrow night I go to see Charlie XCX, so we're gonna do it. We're gonna see. Yeah. So everyone's favorite textbook netting defines macro practice as professionally guided intervention designed to bring about change in organizational, community, and/or policy arenas. Throughout history, there has been a debate of case versus cause. So an individual case versus the systemic cause of a problem. Which is more important? What should we focus on? Typically, those who focus on case are considered micro-social workers, while those who work on cause are considered macro. But this is not necessarily the case. In fact, the Special Commission to Advance Macro Practice states that it might be better to holistically consider everything, such that the cause will influence the case and the case will influence the cause. Mosley seconds this in her article, Yes, Macro Practice Matters, when she states the question should not be whether the problems in society can be resolved by changing people
versus changing structures, but rather how scholars
and activists who focus on those different levels can create a more holistic change by communicating and working together better.
She also talks about how historically social workers have attempted to justify and legitimize their career by becoming more scientific, more micro, one might say, but that macro practice is just as reasonable to pursue and legitimate as a career. I guess the point being that no matter where you find yourself in the social work sphere, there is always an opportunity for advocacy and that sort of macro social work practice. Theory-wise, we can consider macro practice as relating to ecological systems theory. In ecological systems theories, adequate assessment of human problems must consider the reaction, the relation between the human and their environment. This effectively stating that humans are the result, the product of their environment, and changing their environment will change their behavior. I don't really know what is more macro than that. The idea that these larger systems are coming together to influence and shape a person, and if we were to change that, then maybe they would have a better outcome or, healthier life. For example, we could use Professor's favorite example, R. Kelly. If we were to apply the ecological systems theory to R. Kelly, we would look at R. Kelly's environment, how he grew up, maybe what he was surrounded by in relation to what he has done, and then we would look to that sort of environment to explain the behavior that he exhibits. The macro social worker might then look at that environment and determine maybe how best to change policy regarding, environments that lead to pedophiles. So the three skills that I identified as being related to macro practice are empathy, self-awareness, and cultural competence, and effective communication and advocacy. So for empathy, I decided to talk about fentanyl use in Virginia and how drug overdoses have been on the rise in Richmond. There were about 2,500 drug overdoses in Virginia in 2022, 8 out of 10 of those being related to fentanyl in some way. I think when approaching drug use as a macro social worker, it is crucial to have empathy for the people that are using these substances, to kind of be able to get into their heads regarding what exactly is causing this use, how do we approach that problem, and what are the systemic sort of factors at play here. I also think that self-awareness and cultural competence are of the utmost importance. If you are planning on implementing policy in any way, you need to understand how you are impacted by certain information and certain experiences, and how those can potentially impact others and the culture that you are currently in. Let's say that I am a macro social worker in Japan and I see little kids running around just unaccompanied doing whatever. Is that a potential act of child abuse? Well, I mean, in Japan, you know, kids are just running around over there. They, you know, you've seen Old Enough? They're like really young. They're just doing errands for their parents. They're like running around. I don't even know what they're doing. They're like, they get fish. They like do all this sort of stuff. But it's like, you need to be able to understand sort of what your views of a particular culture are, and how, you know, maybe you view things as an issue, but for a particular culture it may not be. Finally, a good macro social worker will practice effective communication and advocacy. I am currently interning at the Virginia Association for Down Syndrome, where we practice advocacy for individuals with Down syndrome. Currently, we're supporting the Charlotte Woodward Organ Transplant Discrimination Prevention Act, which will allow people with Down syndrome access to organs that they may not have had otherwise. It's worth noting that individuals with Down syndrome have had an uphill battle regarding healthcare. Even as recently since the 80s, up until the 80s, individuals with Down syndrome didn't have access to life-saving heart surgery as neurotypical people would. And thus, once they got access to that heart surgery, their lifespan on average doubled. It is the job of the macro social worker to be able to communicate issues effectively and advocate for them as such. So the two values that I think most relate to macro social work are social justice and integrity. Going back to that first netting definition that we all know and love, macro practice is professionally guided intervention designed to bring about changes, and social justice identifies exactly where those changes occur. Those changes occurring on behalf of vulnerable or oppressed individuals. And in my mind, no social justice work gets done without integrity. Integrity ensures that social workers are acting ethically and with the mission of all social workers. Within integrity is also included taking care of oneself and ensuring that you can be an actual help to the people that need them. And with that, our video has come to a close. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I am sure you could tell it is 12:30 over here. I am starting to feel it a little bit, but yeah, thanks for watching.